We are live. Hey, everybody. Did you guys miss me? I know. It's like that sometimes. But we are back with the podcast. I am Malia, obviously your host. We are making money moves. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Making Money Moves. I did put podcast on the end. So we all can find me. And when you look for Making Money Moves, we don't just find Cardi B. Okay. And subscribe on iTunes because I am on there making money moves as well. So hopefully you guys look at both of those. Okay. Let's get into this. So today, last week we brought up marijuana stocks with Kyra, and we also brought up insurance for yourself as a business owner, that you do need to have insurance for yourself. If you work with your hands a lot, that you should have insurance for your hands, which I do not. But as of last week, I do now. So if something happens to these good old hands, I can still get paid. But I said I was going to bring you this marijuana stock. Okay, so we are going to talk about marijuana today. So after doing some research about investing in marijuana stocks, a lot of the things that I have seen that will get you, bring you the most money actually is investing in the growing part. And a lot of that right now, the stocks and things that are booming with that are in Canada. Okay. So some of the founders, the former president of Facebook, the PayPal co-founder, and a billionaire, George Soros, all have taken money and put money into these stocks that have, basically have grown from where they were 77% over the last year, and they have an estimated growth of 700 by the end of 2018. They also, which obviously gives you a good reason if some of the top billionaires in the U.S. are investing. This might be something that you want to look into. And then it also says that marijuana is considered to be the largest cash crop in the United States. So if you want to put it into perspective, the global coffee market is one of the most valuable commodities on the planet, right? It's valued at 80 billion. But the value of marijuana, which is bigger than cotton, is bigger than wheat, is supposed to be valued at 142 billion. Okay, so let's put some stuff in perspective about what we should look into and where we should invest some money if you're looking to invest money. One of the benefits of marijuana, okay, I'm gonna give you some of the benefits and then I'll move on. So some of the benefits of marijuana is it does help with chronic pain. We know that for people that have muscle spasms, it does help with muscle spasms. It does slow down Alzheimer's disease, which doing some research, I did not know that as well. And then it eases pain for if you have multiple sclerosis. And then for men, it also helps with your sex drive. Okay, so for all those that are, having a problem, or maybe your woman isn't satisfied, you might want to go smoke some marijuana and then let's see what happens after that. Okay. But that is all I'm going to give you today about marijuana. Any more questions you have about marijuana, just tune in to me and I can, give you some more things about what marijuana can do. But the dosage of, I know I was talking about the sex drive for men. It does help you, but it's all about the dosage. So if you do too much, it might not work. And if you don't do enough, it might not work. So you need to figure out the dosage of what you need to have to get, to make sure your man's work. All right. So now, today, my moneymaker today is Keisha Irving. She is the owner of Keisha's Kreations. She is one of my really good friends. She doesn't know that I look up to her. When I first got into the wedding industry, she was the person that I called out the blue in order to be able to get started. Actually, I called her. Someone recommended her to me, and I called her and I actually spoke with her. She didn't know who I was. I just told her I was recommended to her by these two people. And I went to her office and we sat down and I gave her a vision that I had one day, and she took off running, and here we are today. 3 or 4 years later, I've been in the business and she is here. So I am going to introduce Keisha Irving, is the owner of Keisha's Kreations. I'm going to let her tell you about her business and how she got started, and then we will go from there. So hello Keisha.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Aaliyah. Today has just been so amazing. I'm so elated to be here with you. And I just want everyone to know that I have just in this year been so grateful to be around such prominent women who are doing such amazing things in our community and here in Houston. But a little bit about me, and I always share this story, particularly with clients and people who get to know me on a first-time basis. We started Keisha's Kreations in 2002. Prior to that, I worked as a civil engineer, licensed professional engineer for many companies here in Houston. I worked with a lot of the Texas Department of Transportation, some private firms. I've done roads and bridges pretty much here in Houston and all over the world. And so having that background has really helped me to really look at life differently. So growing up around my parents, I'm from a small town in Louisiana, all we had was my cousins, fields, outdoors. My grandmother and great-grandmother always grew flowers, had little bowls on the tables, and always set the table with what we had. So growing up with that, I always had an appreciation for art and just nature and just people in general. So when I decided to open up Keisha's Kreations, my husband and I, we were both engineers, and we had a conversation, and I told him, I said, I really feel like I've done what I needed to do in engineering. I've accomplished that for my parents, and so now it's time to move on to something else. So kickstarting that, the first business that we entered into was a banquet hall. We opened up a small banquet hall for 150 people.
Oh.
And so that's how the rental pieces came about.
Okay.
So that's where
Which
the
makes
first
sense.
investment of money went into so that we
Was a
could have.
banquet hall.
Exactly. So we bought tables and chairs and linens and decor pieces. And so for about 2 years, I decided after we had kids that it was just a little bit too much for me. It wasn't giving me my creative space, and it was just always in the same location. So then I decided after that, with that investment, I said, well, let's venture into something else. And so we decided to really launch into the floral aspect of it. And so I sought out mentors. I've had a lady that has been like a mother and a grandmother to me. Ms. Pearl has taught me everything that I know about the basics. So that's where the mentorship program, I would say, started. I always think that you need someone who has been down that road before.
You do.
To teach you and to help you.
Yeah.
So that your investment is not wasted and that your money is put into things that are really going to come to pass.
Right. Because no one likes to waste money.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Especially when you're starting as a small business.
Yeah.
We really sometimes don't have all the resources that we need to be able to facilitate all that we need at one time. So it's important that you manage and learn at the same time so that your money continues to, expound for you and you're not wasting money.
So we definitely being a very frugal individual that I am, I definitely do not like to waste money. But you never, I think one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with, even being an entrepreneur and having these other people, is, a lot of people do not like to help. It's been very different that a lot of people don't like to help you or be able to give some type of advice or something amongst ourselves. It kind of seems like that if people feel like if I'm helping you, then that's somehow taken away from me, which I'm all the way confused on how people get that mentality. Of course. But that kind of what happened. So when I met Keisha, actually, she didn't know me from a can of paint. Okay. So I was just like, this is what I want to do. This is the vision that I have. And then we just ran with that. So that is definitely where that came from. But okay, so she was obviously an engineer. I did not know that she opened up a banquet hall. It would be great if she would have still had that banquet hall, because I could have just ran that and did all my planning and stuff out of there. But that is a different, later on, don't worry, you'll see a banquet hall with Keisha's Kreations and Calvert's Weddings and events somewhere in the future. But so you went from engineering
Absolutely
to doing flowers out of your garage with your first show.
Absolutely.
So how did you go from I left engineering to do flowers?
Well, I think that a lot of times we take away from, we don't really plan and process.
Right.
Even though it sometimes this industry and what we do in the background tends to take us so far so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
In my own quiet time and in my own just really get to know what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I really plan and sit down and I use my engineering skills very much. I mean, I go to it as if it's like a strategic plan. It's having a mentor. It's talking about the plan, and it's creating a circle or environment of people that are going to help you with that plan.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I'm not as social as I used to be, just because I have a family, I have 2 daughters that are 11 and 13 that are completely inundated in track, academics. I mean, they keep me very busy.
Yeah.
I have to compartmentalize everything that I do. And strategically, I have to be very strategic about what I do and who I share those plans with.
Yeah.
So I want to touch back on what you just said about us helping each other, because I think that's the one thing that I'm trying to bridge the gap between younger entrepreneurs, middle of the road entrepreneurs, and someone like myself who's been in business for 15 years. And I've been able to sustain myself those 15 years without going into bankruptcy, without having to change my name, without having to I mean, definitely there has been some bumps in the road, but going from my garage to several other event spaces were strategic. Whereas I've always had a CPA, I've always had an attorney, I've always had investments beyond.
My circle is going to take over these things here in the minute. My circle is CPAs, which is, pending test scores. And my friends that are lawyers, we're going to take over the circle that she has CPAs and lawyers. Don't worry, it's coming. But anyway,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
I agree, because as we have these conversations, I think if we continue to keep our money circulating with those who support us and those who we support, you'll start to see that circle that you're talking about, that sometimes we don't want to help each other, will start to come back into a circle of, I know you, I trust you, and I can trust you with what I'm doing because I know who you are.
Right.
So I'm very loyal when it comes to that.
Isn't that great? Loyalty. We don't have that right now in this generation. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so okay. One lesson. Give me a lesson that you have learned during floral, because you've been doing floral for the last 15 years. What is one thing that you learned that you will not do again, that you could share with everyone else that is in some type of, in whatever capacity they are in, that you have done that you are like, this was a hard pill to swallow, but I'll never do it again?
I think there are many. There are many. I'm trying to think of the one lesson. I think the one thing that I can think back to was the biggest event that I've ever taken on happened to be a wedding for 1,200 people outdoors. And I had to travel because I had already made travel plans with my husband. And that's one of the things that we just do annually. And so I could not change those plans. And I was not here. And so I did not debrief my team with all of the aspects that were going on. It was, I always have drawings. I always have details. I always have where flowers are coming in. But the one element that we forgot to talk about, and I think I was rushing out of the country, was that it was going to be outside and it had rained previously. And so I've learned from that is that I've gone from being a florist designer to really understanding that I produce events. And so the biggest lesson for me is that I cannot expect people on my team to have the same level of capacity to think and quickly turn things around as I would.
Right.
You want that. You really want that. But that's just not how it works. But I think the more you're detailed and the more you list it out and the more you have, communication is key. I look at my office and the crew that we have, and I'm like, it's like a marriage. If you do not constantly communicate day in and day out, then the days become very long.
Yes. To this long marriage and these long work days with coworkers we don't talk to. That is so funny.
Exactly.
That is so
and
funny.
I just don't, we don't have that in my office. You can't walk in the morning, even if you're going through something, by 10:30, it's all good again.
I mean, you need to be over it, okay?
We got to move on. We got to move on.
Relationship. This is helping somebody's relationship right now, okay? Even though that's not what we're talking about. If you mad, get over it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So listen to this, guys. You know, one thing that I really hate that we do, I know I'm kind of going off, but one thing that I hate that we do is we always ask for a discount, right? We always ask for a discount for some reason, regardless of if you go to Bill on this corner or Susan on that corner. When you come to us, you're going to ask for a discount. But let me tell you something, okay? I would never, okay? Do you hear me? Ask this woman for a discount in my life. Let me tell you why. I did my mom's 60th birthday. I don't know if you want me to say how old you were, but I love you though. So we did her 60th birthday. It was our her birthday party / our reunion. And I had to do all of the floral, okay, for this birthday. We had, I think 200 people or something like that.
You did.
So I had to do like all of like the julep cups, which are, the little flowers that are in the little cups or whatever, like the big arrangements I had to do. My godmother came in and she stripped all the flowers. I had to cut. Do you know we started at 8:00 that morning loading stuff and started doing these flowers? I did not finish until 4:00 that afternoon, and the party started at 5 or 4:30. When I tell you it was so much work, these myths that we have about being able to do flowers or being able to put stuff together. When you finally when you have to do it and put this stuff together, when I tell you my feet were hurting, my hands were hurting, like I was like, I will never do this again for a party or for a like little stuff. I'll do baby showers. Right. I'll do baby showers and I'll do birthday parties. But weddings is no, I would never. When I tell you so much work that goes into it that people don't really realize how much work it is until you get in it and you try to figure out why the price is so high. But these flowers, she flew these flowers in from like Colombia or somewhere, and they're fresh. And you have to do all these things to them once they got to the hotel. And it was so much work that I was like, if I thought about being a florist, I'm done. I am not in that job description. That is not something that I can do. I can do a lot of things, but floral for parties, big designs is not for me. It's not for me. But anyway,
but it's a lesson.
That is a lesson that you had to do it. I had to get it, and it was a very hard lesson. My hands were very upset with me that day. But okay, so a myth. What is a myth that you have heard about floral or design that you do? With something that you do, what is something that you've heard about it?
One of the things that I often hear is that in the floral industry, it's easy to just obtain your relationships with growers, or it's easy to just be able to fly flowers in from all over the world. I mean, the myth behind that is that it takes years of conversation and years of having a mentor and people guiding you into the right directions. Of course, when I first started, I mean, no disrespect to how we buy flowers. I mean, you can go to Kroger and H-E-B, and the same flowers that we're receiving are sometimes the same growers that are providing those flowers to that particular location. But when you start to talk about high end and the grade and the quality, flowers are graded from A to F.
No.
They just have certain levels that they grow, whether they're taller, shorter, they're around the equator in different locations. It's a whole educational, genre behind flowers. And so the myth is that a lot of people get into the floral industry thinking that I've picked up a bubble bowl, I've gone to Kroger, and I've put some hydrangeas and some roses in a vase. And I agree with you that if you're looking for that minimal look, that's one thing. But when you start to go into producing major events that require certain colors, certain textures, tulips, peonies, things that only grow seasonal, you have to really know what you're doing. Oh, yeah. So the myth is don't believe the hype. Don't believe that it's just you wake up one day. I took a boutonniere and corsage class and now I'm a florist. I'm a designer. I can do weddings and events. Unless you've trained under someone or you have spent some time in this industry and you've really studied your craft, you're just beginning.
I'm just a beginner, but I don't want to do it. So, baby, we're not. Anyway, but okay. So I know that you recently went to New York.
I did.
And you were doing Fashion Week. You were down during Fashion Week. So if you don't know the history behind Keisha's Kreations, she does obviously floral and design. She also does more than just floral. She does rentals. So she has worked. She did All Star. All Star was in Houston.
It was.
When All Star was here, I think 2 years ago or a year ago. When was All Star here?
It was probably here about 3 years ago.
Yeah, she did some of the events for All Star. The auto show was here. She's done that. She's done a lot of NBA and NFL, NBA professional athletes. She's done a lot of their weddings and events from here to Dominican to Australia and back. Okay, so when you talk about the financial side of what she does, and people tend to not want to pay what you're worth. Absolutely. But in some cases when you have the accolades behind you, when you can say I've done this and I've done that, I've done this, this is what I'm worth, then you see, when you get it, you won't let anybody else tell you, oh well, I can only pay this. Well, then you don't want us. You have to be able. She has done a lot for you to have to pay her what she's worth, basically. And then she's also in. She was in. What's the name of them? It starts with a G.
Grace Armand.
Yes, Grace Armand's magazine. Okay, she was in the page right after Preston Bailey. If you guys do not know who Preston Bailey is, he is, if not the top black designer in the world. Absolutely. I think like top black designer in the world. If you don't know who he is, if that's not your realm, but even if it's not, you obviously want to be the top in your class or the top in your field and make the money that that you want to make, and people have to pay you for it. So you were in Fashion Week. So tell us how was Fashion Week? What did you do during Fashion Week?
Over the years, I've always had an admiration for him. Not only with him, but I was able to work with Karen Tran. She's another very female artist in her craft. So I that's where that planning came in. I set out 7 years ago and said, in order to elevate my skill set, in order to get to the level that I'm trying to get to, then I'm really going to have to humble myself and work in their realm. Because the only way you know who they are and what they can give you is if you're in their space.
Yeah.
So for Fashion Week, I actually went to Puerto Rico. Was my first class in investment that I did, and I won the class with Preston. My team, I was the only person that spoke English. My entire team spoke Spanish. And it was so interesting because I had to leave early and we won. And so I decided to take the class in New York just because my style is very fashion forward, very modern. So long story, I mean, we did some amazing pieces that we had never worked on, some ceiling treatments, some acrylic vases. I've been able to meet some amazing people and designers across the world that now I have as a home, and I can travel to Peru and Colombia and those places. So we have a little family, and Preston is one of my biggest. I'm his biggest fan, and he's agreed to be my mentor.
That
you
is
know,
great.
to have that relationship with. So when I need things and conversations. So
Preston Bailey.
Yes.
Shout out to Preston Bailey.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay, so we at the end of each show or towards the end, we do a financial tip. So last week so for the last couple weeks, we've given you junk bonds with Netflix. We have, if you have not seen that, I will post the link or post part of the link I'll post the link and the article for the junk bonds for Netflix for those that maybe missed that. We talked about savings with Kyra Coffee, attorney Kyra Coffee. We've talked about insurance with Kyra Hardwick, and we have talked about marijuana. Okay, we have talked about investing in marijuana. So what would your financial tip be for everybody today?
I think it's a double fold. My financial tip for small businesses would be, if you do not have an IRA that you're investing in through your small business, we oftentimes do not plan for retirement because we're in the grind and thinking that, oh, this is going to work out. I'm going to make millions of dollars at this. But in the meantime, you still need to be investing as if this is your income. This is as if setting up a corporation and having your corporation be somewhere where my parent company is Keiko Designs Inc. And Keisha's Kreations is one entity under that parent company. So Keisha's Kreations has its own Roth IRA that I am investing in so that as I go along, I'm getting a retirement. So I think that's critical because a lot of times we spend 25, 30 years as a small business and we don't have anything to fall back on.
Which is interesting because so the SEP IRA is what she is referring to for small businesses, for self-employment small businesses, is you can invest more with a SEP IRA than you can with just a regular Roth IRA.
Agreed.
So with the SEP IRA, you can invest, I want to say, up to $54,000 a year. And with the regular Roth IRA, you can only invest $5,500. And then if you're over a certain age, you can add $1,000. So which, even if you don't have $54,000 to put into something to give, to let it sit there, you have more, the amount you can invest, which is really important because even for the tax side of that, that is a write-off that you can have when you come sit in front of me or in front of anybody and you are trying to figure out, I owe the IRS $30,000. Like I've invested or I put money into. Well, if you put money into that SEP or if you put money into somebody's Roth, once you put that on there, that $30,000 definitely drops. So that you won't owe that.
Especially when you're starting to go from a small business to mid-size to having more income coming in. You make a great point. To avoid some of your taxable things that you're looking at, just having the money in a savings account. If you put it in that Roth IRA, as the tax deduction, some of us absolutely need that.
Yes, because if you have nothing else, if you are single, no children, as I am, you definitely need something else you can write off. Even with this new tax law, the new tax law. I hate to say this. I really hate to say this, but the new tax law does help small businesses.
It does.
It does help small businesses over a certain income. It does help you. It definitely has cut. I did some forecasting for myself and a couple other people, and it definitely had cut our what we owe in half.
Wow.
It has cut it in half. So just imagine you sitting in front of me and I told you last year you owe $30,000 and then this year you only owe $15,000 because of the new tax law. For small businesses, it's fantastic. For other people, it definitely does not help a lot of my other clients, but my small business clients, it definitely does help those.
Agreed. Some of us are in need of an upgrade to our facilities. We need new trucks and new things and any type of. I always say a dollar saved is a dollar gained.
Yeah.
And where you put that dollar is important going forward. Especially a lot of us are not getting any younger. I mean, you have to think about forecasting your future now. I don't want to be working 20 years later and say, did I just work to give and to make this world beautiful and have nothing to fall back on?
Yeah.
So.
Which is something that we obviously need to look into. But so my tip for today really is, I've been giving you guys different things with marijuana and with these junk bonds and CDs. But this week, my tip is for you to invest in yourself. The biggest thing, the best investment you have is for you to invest in yourself. Once you stop looking at and making money for other people or working these 8 hours for somebody else when I can work 12 for myself, or when it's time for me to put some money in somewhere and not being scared. Scared money makes no money.
That's right.
Okay.
That's good.
So we definitely have to figure, that is my tip for today, scared money because I am scared because I am frugal. So, that is definitely even me for myself having to come out of that and do something different so that I don't have to, work and for another million years just to be able to live how I want to live. That's not where we are right now. We are living our best lives today is what we are trying to do.
Absolutely.
So we definitely need to make sure that your first investment is to invest in yourself. Okay. So we are going to thank our money maker for coming in with us today. We are going to thank Keisha Irvin for taking time out of her day. I know she has a long day with all these appointments. And you can catch us on iTunes and Making Money Moves. You can also catch us on YouTube. Yes, Making Money Moves podcast. I do have the first 3 episodes up, so please subscribe to my channel. And then, I will see you next week with another wonderful host. But I thank you guys for joining us today. Have a great day.